What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. Today we are asking the question, is buying a used Subaru WRX or STI a gamble? Well, the short answer is yes, it is. However, that's how it is with buying any used performance car. But with Subarus, you do have to do a little more due diligence to make sure you're not buying an absolute dumpster fire. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about how you can hedge your bets when you roll the dice and buy a used Subaru WRX or STI like me. Before we get into it, I'm Sep, a car enthusiast making videos for car enthusiasts like yourselves. So feel free to subscribe to get your weekly dose of YouTube car content. Now, the reason why I'm making this video is not only to share my experience and knowledge when shopping for Subarus, but it's because online gambling is now legal where I live. And no, this isn't an ad, don't click away, there's a point to this. But I feel like I have an inner Asian gambling genetic in me that's now revealing itself since these apps were made legal. I don't mean to make it racial, it's all peace and love on this channel, but if you've ever been to a casino, you can't help to notice at the high limit table, there's either an Asian dude playing at it or dealing at it. Now the point is, while I was playing on these stupid apps, wagering maybe $1 to $5 at most, I realized those bets are baby food compared to the somewhat gamble that I did buying this car. Because if you think about it, I just threw thousands of dollars at this thing and I might lose it all if it decides to grenade itself with this notorious EJ257 under the hood. However, I did take some measures to minimize the risk of losing it all when buying this car. So let's go for a drive and I'll tell you guys more about what I mean. Okay, so when I was shopping for this car, I came up with some criteria and I split it into two categories: the must-haves and the nice-to-haves. The must-haves were things that would make or break the deal. They were compulsory, and if I can't achieve any of them, if any single one of them could not be accommodated, I'd walk away. Whereas the nice-to-haves were things I would still be looking for, but depending on how good condition the car is, I'd be willing to make a compromise. I came up with all this stuff from my past experiences owning Subis, especially the older ones, but you don't have to follow it. Obviously, this is just what I look for when I'm buying a used turbocharged Subaru. So starting with the must-haves. So I communicate all of these requirements right away to the seller before even seeing the car. And again, if they can't accommodate any of these things, I walk away. It just saves me a lot of time. I don't have to drive out and see the car and then get surprised because the seller won't budge because of some things that I want to see before buying the car. The first must-have is an inspection by a specialty Subaru shop of my choosing. And this inspection needs to include a leak down test and a compression test. So the leak down test and compression test, if you don't know what they are, Google it. But it's a good way to get an understanding of how healthy an engine is. And I wouldn't bother with any inspection of a turbocharged Subaru without these two checks. It's absolutely mandatory, and it gives you a little peace of mind when these checks are done. And the second important part to this inspection is by a specialty Subaru shop. And why I say specialty Subaru shop is because these shops are where people bring their broken, blown up Subarus. So they will have seen all of the different failure points, that are common in turbocharged Subarus. As we know, Subaru's piston layout is on its side, hence the boxer. So there are going to be problematic areas that may not coincide with your regular engine layout that isn't laying flat. And the big brand shops may not be looking for it or could miss a lot of problems, whereas a Subaru specialty shop will be able to identify it and honestly be looking for it right away. The second must-have for me is the car cannot be rebuild status. So I don't want a car that's been in a major accident. That's a gamble that I'm not willing to take whatsoever. When I'm buying a car, I'm not planning to sell it in the future. Like buying this car, this is going to be a long-term thing. However, when life throws curveballs, typically the first thing that goes are the fun things, the things that you don't really need. And fun cars are on the hit list. They're close to the top of the hit list when things go haywire in life. Having an active status car just alleviates all of that future concern and pressure if you do need to sell the car because you're in a financial pinch. The third must-have is a test drive. Now, if you're buying the car from a dealership, they will typically allow you to test drive whatever car you want as long as you don't show up disheveled. However, private sellers may be a little more particular with this, especially if their car is in really good condition. So you want to make sure with a private seller that you can get a test drive, and that may require you to have cash on hand. So ask the seller how much cash that looks like. It's not practical to be lugging around 20 to 30K. But if you have a couple $1,000 to show, hey, look, if anything happens, I gave you a deposit. Or I know some people will ask to take photos of your ID. In the event that something happens during the test drive, they can prove who was driving the car and handle any damages that way. Now, if a private seller is adamant on not letting you test drive, that's a red flag. I think it's completely fair to be able to try out the thing that you're going to spend thousands of dollars on. And I've seen that in the past for some reason. Some people just don't want you to drive the car, and I think maybe it's because they have trust issues and they've been burned in the past with people and tire kickers abusing their car. But that also could mean they're hiding something. So if you can't test drive the car, walk away. Now, the last and final must-have for me is I did not want to buy a car that didn't have the original engine. I didn't want to buy a car that had a built block or a swap short block. I wanted it to come with the same engine that was installed from the factory. Now, the reason being is because the purpose of my car is for a fun daily driver, and having a built block, that's not necessary for my type of driving. However, if you are planning to make a ridiculous amount of horsepower, then buying a car with a built block already may not be a bad idea. It kind of gets you ahead of your plans. Having the package all encompassed already may save you thousands of dollars if your plan is to just make it a project car with oodles of power. I think the one circumstance that I'd be okay with is if the car had an engine replaced by Subaru under warranty and that new motor was still under warranty. Now, moving to the nice to haves. And the first thing for me is full maintenance records. I know a lot of you are probably thinking this should be a must-have thing. However, with the state of the used market now, I think the used market really took a hit after COVID and it hasn't really recovered. It's an absolute shit show. You'd be surprised at the amount of people that don't keep maintenance records for whatever reason, or they simply do their own maintenance to save money, which is completely fair. The reason why I think this is a nice to have, let's say for instance, you find a really good looking Subi and the guy has sparse records. He says the maintenance is done on time, but he doesn't really have the records to show it. That's where the inspection comes in the must-have criteria, and the specialty shop will be able to tell you the condition of the fluids, the condition of the timing belt if it has one, and can help you identify any wear and tear items that need to be replaced pretty soon, or anything that's overdue that needs to be replaced right away. The second nice to have for me are no accidents. There are no longer STIs being produced, so it's hard to find good condition ones, and the absolute gems get bought up so fast. The moment they're posted, within a day or two, they're already gone. So personally for me, if I see an accident on the Carfax, I won't completely write it off as long as it appears to be minor. And if the owner has proof of what happened, if it was a very minor scratch or purely cosmetic thing, I'd let it slide. The last nice to have for me are no modifications. I know a lot of people shy away from modified Subarus on the used marketplace. However, if the mods are tastefully done and if they're power mods and tuned appropriately, then I wouldn't be too concerned. Because I believe that there are a lot of stock cars out there that aren't maintained well, beat to shit every day, and there are a lot of modified cars out there by owners who care about their car, who just wanted to enhance their driving experience. I don't think a stock car necessarily means that it's a pristine, good condition car. It's nice to have a clean slate, but I think minor modifications, minor bolt-ons with a Pro Tune is a really compelling package, as long as the owner took good care of it, did all the maintenance properly, and went to a reputable tuner. Okay, so yeah, that pretty much sums up my must-haves and nice-to-haves. Again, this is just my personal criteria. Let me know down in the comments other things that you guys are looking for when it comes to buying used Subarus. I'm not an expert by any means, but I have not blown up any used Subaru that I've bought. So that is my credentials, I guess. Anyways, I do want to segue into one last topic about the whole reasoning why you may want to get into a used Subaru WRX or STI, or may not. Because I do feel like a lot of people jump into this platform not realizing all of the weird quirks that really make turbocharged Subarus really unique, and also arguably problematic if you're not careful. But I'm not going to talk about it in this drive. My battery is going to die on my camera. So we're going to go to the car wash. I'll throw on the Insta360 POV cam and I'll do a voiceover divulging you guys more information. When people ask me about buying a used Subaru WRX or STI, I always ask, what are you using the car for? A daily, a project car? Depending on what you need, there are more suitable Subis that fit. The VB WRX, in my opinion, is the best all-arounder. Easy to daily and responds well to mods. The STI is a different feeling car and depending on generation can be a daily, can make good project cars, and can be an absolute dumpster fire. Do your research on all the different Subis, as there are some years of the STI that are more notorious than others. Thanks to social media, people tend to chase more power. For whatever reason, some dudes believe having the most horsepower means you have the biggest PP in the room. And if you are one of these guys and want to use a Subi to achieve it, my personal opinion is try something else. The STI and WRX can be built to make oodles of power, but if that's your only goal, other platforms can do it easier. Look at Eurocars, for example. With bolt-ons, an M340i with the B58 can make equivalent power to a fully built STI. Yes, a Eurocar is more expensive, but hypothetically, let's say you buy a used WRX or STI for 20k. Then you have to pay another 20 to 30k to build it. The price of your car plus the engine build is going to be the same or even more than a Eurocar. I think the WRX and STI are not meant to be straight line speed cars. They're built for corners and twisties and back roads. But again, this is just my personal opinion. On that note, let me know down in the comments what your buying process is when you're looking for a used Subaru WRX or STI. And if you have bought one, what are some good stories and what are some horror stories? Share it all down in the comments. I'm curious to hear your guys' input. Anyways, that's it for this video. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed. I'll catch you all in the next one. Take care.